Hey everybody, it's Masood here from Buddyfight News Corner. I am bringing you this week's Hero World Deck of the Week. This is from a request we saw for a deck that features Gear Drake. Now the original request featured was for Gear Drake to be featured as the Buddy, but that is not the case in this deck. The Buddy is still Captain Answer, the Another Lesson, in order to make use of the sideboard Wind Elemental that can be discarded if your Buddy is an impact monster in order to remove a soul from a monster on the field. That's still a really good card, and I cannot effectively justify locking that out of the sideboard, which that gives you a lot of options. Now, some of you have seen and heard about this deck before. I made top 4 at the first shop qualifier I attended with this deck, and this is an update of that. I've changed a few other things with that. This is the Captain Answer Monster Mash with 50 monsters. This way Captain Answer will always be live. So let's jump right in. The ace card, the Another Lesson, which as you can see over here, I do run 4 of. It is to call. It is 3 gauge and send a superhero from your field to the monster from your field to the drop zone. That's to call it. Now to impact transform into it, it is 3 gauge and send a card you are transformed into to the drop zone. And then you impact transform, at which point it counts as an item that has been transformed. So all of the things that respond to a transform will respond to an impact transform. Its effect is you counter, and during your turn you name a monster or spell, mill the top card of your deck. If the card that you milled is whatever you name, whether it be a monster or a spell, you put it into your hand, destroy a monster in the opponent's field, and for this turn this card gets double attack. And you can only use the effect once per turn. That is the primary draw engine and the big pressure play of the deck. Alright, so we're going to jump in with our transform targets. First we have 4 copies of Stray Warrior Veer, the size 1 of the size 1 Quartet 5. 4 copies of First Warrior Einder. That's a big change I made in the deck, was that putting those size 1s in, because they're free to call, and being able to have more size 1s in the deck means I can make more effective fields against decks such as Ein. 4 Cyber Police Heroic Blader, great card because it's a mover. 4 Violet Valor Lord Crow, because it on entry builds a gauge and it doesn't destroy itself because there aren't going to be other dark heroes on your field, and it's pretty good stats as well. Einder and Veer both have transform for 1 gauge, and Captain Answer Final Mode for if you don't see the Another Lesson. It's you never actually want to call it. It's 2 gauge, transform into it, and if you have 2 or more different superheroes in your drop zone, pay 1 gauge and do this Captain Answer effect. Pretty much the same as the Another Lesson. Name monster, spell, mill top card. If you get it correct, destroy a monster in the field. This gains double attack. You don't add the card to hand like you do with the Another Lesson. Iron Man, he's superhero, on call, build the gauge. Rescue Dragon Project Gunner. If you're transformed, you can discard this card in order to build 2 gauge from the top of your deck. Retainer of the Demonic Dragon, Mash Dragon. This is a large portion of why the deck remains functional, and that is because you can use it as a pseudo shield. Pay 1 gauge, call this card from to your field from your hand. It can only be done during the opponent's turn. It does not redirect any attacks to itself, but you can call it over top of a monster in your center that is being penetrated and will nullify the attack, and then your opponent has to attack that next. If you call it at the right time, it can act as a pseudo shield, and running that as well as 4 Mock Braver, which is 1 gauge, call this card to the field in response to an attack and redirect the attack to itself, allow the deck to remain very functional. And now we get to the new card in here, Gear Drake. Put a card from your drop zone into this card's soul and pay 1 gauge. If there are 1 or more souls in this card, put items. Items on your field cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects, and items in your field get crit +1, move, and soul guard. Really, really good card in this because it gives you the item protection that Captain Answer currently lacks, and it also gives an extra critical. Now, in that slot originally was Elon Strum. Elon Strum is still a really good card, but there's some really powerful explosion plays that this can do with getting out a lot of damage, because it gives it to the not just the item you're currently on, but when you impact transform, it gives it to that as well. So really good card. I still am on the fence with that and Elon Strum. I probably side one, main the other, because they're good in different situations. This is another card that was in the side. Now I'm having 2 in the main. Battle Data, Rebel Mass Soldier, counteract, discard the card from your hand, pay 1 gauge. If you do for this turn, item in the opponent's field gets power and defense minus 2k and critical minus 2. Really good for dealing with a lot of the dragon forces that can't be destroyed. It's essentially a pseudo shield, and in some situations it can get a really great deal of mileage, especially against double attacking items, and it's just a really good card. And Blitz Envoy, Shiny Bell, counter. Put this card from the field and a card in your drops on the bottom of your deck in any order. If you do, put top card of your deck into the gauge. It's a 0 allowing you to set up for the Neo Gao formation or whatever. And building gauge. Gauge building is very important in this deck because all of your shields cost gauge. And lastly, we have Warrior Emperor Red Arthur. Pay 1 gauge to call, 1 gauge and a life to transform. Return up to 1 item on your field to your hand, which if this is in your hand and you're currently on the end of the lesson, you can bounce the end of the lesson back to your hand to transform into Red Arthur in order to Red Arthur, and then sack the Red Arthur to go back into the end of the lesson on the next turn. Which is a really good combo, and the effect is when this card attacks, if there's total 4 more different cards with hero or superhero in your drop zone, for this turn this card gets double attack. At double attack plus Gear Drake plus another double attack cranks out massive amounts of damage. The deck pressure is really hard. It hits hard, hits fast, and does the job. Anyway, this is Masood from Buddyfight News Corner with this week's Hero World Deck of the Week, and this is the deck featuring Gear Drake. If you have any other requests, please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you want. We are the channel that does your requests.